Well, again, greetings. Welcome to another edition of Talk of the Town. I'm your host, Rod Johnson, and we got a great show for you today. Pleased to have as our guest Lyle Lorenson, Cannon Falls native, right? Grew up in Cannon Falls. In fact, not too far from me. We've actually known each other for like
long
ever.
time.
Yeah. But Lyle recently retired after 35 years in law enforcement, and all 35 of those years for Goodhue County Sheriff's Department.
All 35, yep, we're the sheriff's office in Goodhue County, yes.
That's got to be a little unusual, isn't it, these days, or not?
Well, we do, a lot of people do have jobs at different agencies throughout their career, but, we have actually found at the sheriff's office, a lot of people are committed to long-term because of the chance of advancement and different things. Plus, if it's in the community that they maybe have grown up with or their spouse is growing up, they have a tendency to stay. But some people do move around more. But I guess I was really fortunate to be able to have my whole career there.
All right. Well, let's go back, way back. And when did you first start thinking about, were you a kid when you decided I'd like to do that someday, or when did it kind of sink in that's what you wanted to do?
Actually, it was a ninth grade assignment in school. We had to write a paper on a career, and I chose law enforcement. And Dick Fox was the local trooper in Cannon Falls at the time, and I went and interviewed him and did my paper about law enforcement, and that really was the deciding point.
Really?
At that time, that was from that point on, it was something I wanted to do. It took me a while to get there. I did a lot of other jobs before that, but I finally did make it. Yeah.
And was he kind of helpful in steering you in the right direction as to how to, get into it?
Yeah, and he gave me advice to that. Back in those days when I started, you did, the 2-year degree or a 4-year degree wasn't a requirement. It was still something they liked you to have, but you could get hired and then be sent off to rookie school. So I was really fortunate to be able to do that. In fact, there was only 2 more of those schools after me, and from that point on, you had to have the degree. So I was really fortunate to be able to fall into that.
So when you first went to work for Goodhue County, I would imagine you didn't start at the top.
No, Dale Grote was sheriff at the time, a person from Cannon Falls as well.
Yeah, that's right.
And I had written him a letter and asked how I could get into law enforcement without having a degree and stuff, and he actually went into the information more about the rookie school and all that, and he hired me as a jailer dispatcher. Back in those days, jail and dispatch combined duties. You would maybe do one day and the next day do something else. So I started out dispatching and jailing, and that was very interesting. I almost didn't last very long, just personally, because it was something I wasn't used to. And about my second or third day, I was on my own already. We didn't have big training times, and I remember sending an ambulance to the wrong town.
Oops.
And I thought, holy cow, this is the way it's going to be. But I did get through it, and the sheriff was very understanding, as was the victim, who did survive.
Okay, everything
turned out
good.
okay.
Yeah.
But so I spent a little over my first year dispatching and jailing.
And then from there,
everything was applied for in promotions, and a patrol opening came up a little over a year later, and I applied for that and was fortunate to get that position. That started my career as far as a licensed officer went, working in patrol duties, and I continued doing that for a significant period of time. And in fact, I was on patrol when I started the county's first canine program, and that was in 1988, several years later.
so that was the first canine program in the county?
And for the sheriff's office, correct. Yeah, the city of Red Wing had one at that time already. In fact, that was Roger Flum. In fact, he was instrumental in helping me with that. But Sheriff Forrest Whippling, Forrest was the sheriff at that time, and he helped me get that started. And I think really that was kind of a cornerstone of my career.
I was going to say, is that kind of going to be one of the things you look back on and go, wow?
Yeah, I mean, as far as everything I did, that was probably one of the funnest things I did. In fact, my son, who's also in law enforcement in Wabasha County, works a dog for them, and it's a lot of fun. I used to actually go help him a little bit at the dog trials and stuff, but he kind of retired me too and replaced me with somebody a little quicker, a little younger.
And I remember too when you're involved with the canine, and I've met others that have had canines, and the thing I notice is you become very close to the dog, and it's a very good relationship. Well, it has to be.
It has to be, yeah. And majority of the time when those dogs are retired, they do stay with the handler. They're typically one-person dogs.
Yeah.
I mean, I couldn't go anywhere, even in my house, and Major would be right there with me. I'd go to the bathroom, he'd come with me. I go He was fine. You know, my wife Dawn and the kids could handle him fine, but as far as police commands go, strictly one person. And yeah, you do get very attached to them.
And how many years were you with the canine?
I was with the canine until 1995.
How many different dogs?
That was just the one. I
Just the
had
one
him.
dog?
He was 9 years old.
Okay.
At that time. I was actually a patrol sergeant by then, and I was decided whether to take a second dog or there was an opening in investigations in welfare fraud, and I decided not to do a second dog and apply for that position. Again, just another change and a chance for advancement, and so I went that route.
A little more on the canine because they do so many different things, right? I mean, like was Major certain?
You know, they all, you know, of course, everybody looks at the dog and thinks about their apprehension ability, but that's really probably the least we would use those dogs for. It's their ability to scent,
Right.
You know, to track, to search. And then usually we'll specialize them in either narcotic searching or explosive searching, and we in our county have more need for narcotic searching, and that's what I specialized in major in. You know. But really, if it wasn't for their scenting ability, we wouldn't even have them.
Yeah.
That's what they're all about.
Okay. You mentioned a little bit about training opportunities, and I imagine being in law enforcement, are there a lot of opportunities for you to train, you know, while you're working?
There is. Well, you know, you're mandated to have so much training every year anyways to keep your license, but then all the other things that you do, all your core tasks, you have to have additional training. And I was also fortunate to be a trainer. I was a use of force firearms instructor, did that for a high majority of my career along with a tactical team trainer. So we're training all the time. I mean, it doesn't matter what phase of law enforcement you're in, but there is training all the time, whether it's working in the jail as a detention deputy or a dispatcher. Everybody always seems like going through some type of training to keep current because it changes constantly. Technology changes constantly.
Again, our guest is Lyle Lorenson, who's been 35 years with the Goodhue County Sheriff's Department. And like you said, you started as a jailer, dispatcher, canine. Now, you were also involved with, do they still call it the SWAT team?
Yeah, we call it emergency response team. It's just kind of a politically correct for saying SWAT team. Yes, I was on that for 14 years, commander for, I think it was 7 or 8 years of that. Again, that was a big part of my career. We started that team in 1993, and it is still going today. And very well-established team, and we work together along with the city of Red Wing and Wabasha County. We service both counties.
And how busy? You know, I've always been. I mean, how many calls do you average, say, in a month?
I think people would actually be, first of all, usually surprised we even have a tactical team in Goodhue County. But on an average, just 1 to 2 calls a month is what it has averaged out over the years, and are typically calls for high-risk warrants, oftentimes related to narcotics or a crime that may involve the weapon, or a barricaded standoffs, which may be somebody that's threatening suicide with a weapon or something to that effect. Those are probably our biggest calls that we do.
And how big is the team typically?
It's usually about 12 licensed officers, and there's usually 3 or 4 full-time medics from the city of Red Wing, and I think there's one from Zerboda currently on it too. So the team actually has medics that go through special training who are assigned to the tactical team.
Now, again, back to the training. Now, didn't you go, was it out to Washington, or you were in some pretty intense training? Was it FBI, or what was that?
In was it 2009? As they say, your first thing that goes your memory when you retire, I guess. So in 2009, I went to the FBI National Academy, and which was 10 weeks. And what that is designed for is your future leaders of agencies, people are going to be in command positions, and it really is really a great school. And it really is about the people you meet and the connections you make. Not only through the FBI, but through all the other people throughout the United States and through the world who actually attend it. International students come to that. So you could really go anywhere in this, you know, in the country, and there's somebody you'd be able to connect with law enforcement related if you needed that contact. Then it's a lot of leadership training and counterterrorism leadership training and different things like that. It really was a good school. You know, I wasn't quite sure if I wanted to go to spend that much time away from home. Dean Elbers was sheriff at the time and encouraged me to go, and I was really glad. I still have friends from that training that I still communicate with and have gotten together with occasionally. So it really was a good school, and the federal government actually pays for it. So Goodhue County doesn't have to pay for the training.
Is it a smaller percentage of people that go through that type of training?
It actually is. From Minnesota, there's an application process. You go through an interview process. The FBI does all that. And from Minnesota, there was only 2 people chosen to go, and I was fortunate to be one of them.
Was it tough?
Not really. There's a lot of physical fitness that goes along with it, but you do it as groups, so the camaraderie is really good. And the academics, it's been a long time since I had written a term paper, so I was kind of a little bit worried how that was going to go, but it actually went really well, and I would have done it again if I would have had the opportunity. So it was a really good time.
One thing, and we were talking about this the other day, is really changed in this world is technology has just gone crazy. Compared to 35 years ago, working for the Sheriff's Department to today, I mean, wow, that's got to be what a difference in just technology.
I'd say, if you asked me where the biggest changes since I started, technology would surely be one of them. When I first started,
if you took a squad car from 35 years ago and took one today,
we had like 3 toggle switches in there for the lights and a 3-channel or 4-channel radio, and that was it. And now it's like being in a cockpit of an airplane. You got computers, cameras, a brand new radio system that you can talk to anybody statewide, and it is. You are just surrounded by equipment. Technology really has become, and it's also caused other issues with crime, with identity theft and internet crimes. And so as much as we rely on technology to help us in our jobs, or I should say the officers that are working use to help in their jobs, people, the criminal also uses that element to their advantage as well.
Looking back on your career, are there certain cases or events or things that kind of stand out?
Yeah, there'll always be some. Some in Cannon Falls were very huge. The Jessica Swanson case in 1995. None of us will ever forget that. The community won't forget that. Yeah. But we learned a lot of things about the town and the type of people that live in this town, pulling together and helping. And
that's one thing I remember about that case too, is the volunteers, the people that searched, and it's like everybody came together.
Everybody's so willing to help, and we have seen that in other communities where we've had other type of things like that. A lot of my calls with the canine, working the dog were fun. I'll remember those. There were, there's always some calls that weren't so much fun that you'll remember, that you'll carry with you. But overall, I feel really blessed to have had a career with a lot of great opportunities to be able to do so many different things, and really, people say, oh, you got to do all this. You're really good to do that, and I always say, really, it wasn't about me. It was about the people I worked with, because you can't be successful in any job or position without the people you're working with. You really, it takes the whole team to do anything. It's easy to be the commander, make a decision in a tactical team, but if you don't have the people there working together with you, none of it happens. I just was fortunate enough to be the one that picked to lead in those positions. It really was. Even with training my dog, it took other deputies to come out and lay tracks, be willing to put the sleeve on and get bit, and a few of them got bit other places in the sleeve during that. But that's the way it went. But it really is about all the people that we work with.
Yeah, that's a good point. It takes the team effort.
It really does. Yeah.
And you mentioned a couple of the different sheriffs, and I was trying to think how many sheriffs have you worked under? Let's see, starting with Dale Grove, right? Like you said, was from Cannon Falls.
Yep, and then Forrest
Whipperling.
From 87 to through 98, and then 99, Dean Elbers was elected. Then I became his patrol commander. That's when I got into administration, and that's really where I stayed till the end of my career. And Dean was sheriff until through 2009, and in 2010, Scott McNerlin, who is currently the sheriff, and he gave me the opportunity to be the chief deputy, which I really enjoyed those last 4 years working for him in that capacity.
So being with the Sheriff's Department, it's a little different in a way, because you have a sheriff in place, and boom, pretty soon you got another sheriff.
Sure,
it hasn't been really that many, but and I imagine they're all a little different.
And they are, and and the thing with when a new sheriff comes in, sometimes the administrative staff can change. The position of chief deputy is an at-will position, so usually, if you would have a new sheriff, usually a new chief deputy comes in as well, which was not a concern to me with Sheriff McNerlin, because, he does a great job, and secondly, I knew I was towards the end of my career. I told him I would stay at least for one full term with him, and one of the funnest things when I left was watching the excitement in other people as, you know, you have the trickle-down effect of people moving up.
Right.
A new chief deputy, then a new patrol commander, we had a new investigator, and then a new patrolman. It was really fun to see that excitement and that movement throughout the sheriff's office. So, you know, one thing about being in a leadership role is you want to prepare future leaders as well. And I think, you know, easily could have stayed longer. I really loved my job and would have been no problem staying longer. But sometimes it's just time to pass some of that on, and I really enjoyed doing that.
Have you found yourself missing it? How long have you been retired?
Well, just retired in January, so what's that been, 7 months?
Not a year yet.
Yeah, no. Strange as it sounds, no.
Okay.
You know,
I would think at first, you know, that first week has got to be like, whoa, I should be doing something.
I had it planned out long enough in advance that
Okay.
I was ready for it to happen. And, you know, I miss sitting down like we're doing here in a staffing meeting and planning things and doing that strategic planning. I miss that, you know, those type of things. But I see those guys often enough. I've actually gone back and am doing some contract work for the sheriff's office, doing some backgrounds on new hires. So that keeps me in touch with them. And really, it's about the relationships. That's what I would miss and do miss more than the actual hands-on stuff.
Size-wise, like when you started 35 years ago, I mean, do you know, like numbers-wise, how many were employed by the Goodhue County Sheriff's Department compared to, say, today?
We had like 36 total, and that was
Back
jail,
then.
dispatch, and patrol. And we're at, it's got to be close to 110 now.
Wow.
Yeah. And the biggest piece in that is the jail.
Yeah.
We built a new jail, and that takes a lot. And this day and age, detention deputies, that's the politically correct way to put it, detention deputies, we don't call them jailers any longer. They don't dispatch, they don't do that, so they're two separate divisions. So those areas have all grown. And patrol is growing as well. We had 12 when I first started, and now there's 22 patrolmen, but that isn't, and then you also have investigators, bailiffs, water patrol, and all those areas that are completely separate now, where they used to all be just one. So we have grown.
Yeah. Now, you did mention your son Jason involved in law enforcement, but tell us a little bit about your family.
Well, my wife Dawn was also from Cannon Falls, and you know, and that's another thing. You don't work a law enforcement career and make it through it without having the support of your
That's
family.
what I was going to bring
You
up.
know, there's a lot of weekends, holidays, birthdays you miss, and different things. I remember one Christmas getting called out and going to Wanamingo at 4 in the morning, and we were having Christmas dinner at our house, and I was supposed to be making the meat, of course. So Dawn said, "You better be back." And luckily, I was back.
Oh, yeah, good.
So it all worked out. But you know, I can remember being called out and missing Mother's Day, and anybody that's in that type of job, whether it's law enforcement or nursing or medical fields, military, they all sacrifice those things. You know, it's part of their job. So you do miss. So you have to have support of your family, and I always have that. Had that with my wife, had that with my kids. So that was great. And my son Jason, as you said, works for Wabasha County. He's been there. It's been well over 10 years now.
Wow.
So he's doing very well there. Works the K-9 there, which is exciting.
And all those years he's been with Wabasha.
Been with
County.
Wabasha, yeah. His entire career, lives in Lake City, and he's got 2 boys. So that's another thing we really are enjoying about retirement, is having more time for the grandkids.
Because your other son, you were just out and seeing him out in California, right?
Yes, yep. My son Jeff lives in Sacramento, and he's an athletic director at Davis High School, and he has a daughter and a son. So, you know, one thing, when my wife Dawn retired in May, so we were able to go out there and spend a significant part of the summer out there, which we haven't been able to do before. So being retired has been great just because it's given us some of those opportunities.
Were you okay with, you know, not that you had to say, but with Jason going into law enforcement, was that, I mean, it says a lot for him looking at you and saying, I want to do that.
Yeah, you know, I really was. You know, the only, you know, a few years ago we had the shooting in Lake City where Officer Sean Snyder was killed, and I can remember to this day that call coming in, and the first thing went through my mind was, you know, who was it?
Yeah.
And I knew Jason wasn't working, but that was still the first phone call I made to make sure he was okay. He was okay, and right as I got done talking to him, he was on his way to help with that call, as were all of us. But you know, that really hit home.
Yeah.
But you know, I really haven't. The training is good, and you know, and I trust his instincts, and I know he's well prepared for his stuff. But that has changed. You know, my wife never ever worried about me in this job safe to. She has said that so many times. When you'd go to a tactical call out or something with your dog in the middle, she never once thought twice or worried about me not coming home. But once Jason started doing it, whenever the phone rang, the first thing she would say is it about Jason? You know, it really changed it. So Yeah, I do think about that. You know, and today with you know, there's a lot of changes going on in
Yeah,
this
that was
country.
going to be my next.
You know, yeah,
the situation right now is not good with law enforcement,
No,
and
no.
yeah, your thoughts on that?
Yeah, you know, well, you know, it's really tough. You know, it's
Yeah.
not that both sides make mistakes. That's obvious, but you know, I've seen the good side of law enforcement, and for the most part, they're professional. Their decisions are made on actions of others. It's all about behavior. Not that we never make mistakes. We do. But I think we've taken a huge step back, which is going to be difficult to overcome. So yeah, I worry about my friends, my partners, and them guys working the streets. You know, because I think we've taken a step back. We need to move forward again and get through this time.
And you know, you look at kind of the anti-law enforcement in society today. Now with everybody, with a lot of people. What is that doing, do you think, to people in law enforcement? Somebody told me once that they thought they weren't staying in it as long anymore. Is that true? Or?
You know, we haven't seen that,
Okay.
but you know, but it's very possible. You know, and I know when people talk to people about making career choices, I know a lot of officers that will tell people, you know, with everything that's going on, maybe look for a different career choice. You know,
Yeah.
So that it surely has an effect. There is no doubt about that. And I think, yeah, right now it's tough.
Is there a way we can
tough.
change the attitude? I mean, is there a way that, I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, I know. I wish I had the exact
Yeah.
right answer.
Yeah.
You know, I think they just keep doing their job, and you know, and they do it professionally.
Yeah.
And I think eventually it is, you know, it'll take care of itself.
Yeah.
But I hope it happens soon, and we don't have to take
Yeah.
much further steps.
And I do
backwards.
think that most of the people realize,
You know,
that they go above and beyond, and they're serving, and
we
that
really
we need them, and
yep.
I think most people do appreciate very much, but then there's that other
We
percentage.
get that. You know, there's places I can recall going recently, and I know other officers get this all the time, where people do come up and thank them, just like military guys.
Right.
They come and thank them for their service. After 9/11, we've seen a huge change in that. You know, so sometimes it takes tragedies to turn things around. So, well, let's hope we don't have to have that in this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, retirement, what trip is next?
Don't have one planned right
Okay,
now.
all
Yeah.
right.
Well, as you know, deer hunting will be coming
Yeah,
up.
that's right,
Yeah,
that's right.
So bow hunting season starts sooner than gun time, so that'll be happening. And you know, we don't really have anything planned right now,
All right.
but it's nice to know you can go if you need to or want to. So
And looking back on your career, I mean, it's got to be kind of a good feeling for you to look back on 35 years, and I mean, you got to feel good about it.
it really was a good career. You know, I think there was people when I first got out of high school didn't think I'd settle down into any job, because I think I was, you know, jumping back and forth quite a bit trying to find the right thing, and then went back to what I always did want to do. So yeah, I do feel good about it.
Yeah.
It was a really good career. I was blessed to have that opportunity and all the chances to do the things that I did. Met a lot of great people. I have a lot of lifetime friendships because of it. And so.
And you grew up in Cannon Falls, graduated from Cannon Falls High School, and continued to live here the whole time.
Yeah, still live here.
do.
Yeah. Yep.
Well, good. We're going to have to do some fishing or something.
Yes. Yeah.
So, thank you for coming.
Thanks
in
for
today.
having me,
You
Rod.
bet.
Yeah.
Again, our guest today on Talk of the Town has been Lyle Lorenson from Cannon Falls, who retired after 35 years with the Goodhue County Sheriff's Department, and we thank Lyle for coming in today, and thank you for watching. We'll be back again soon with another edition of Talk of the Town. I'm your host, Rod Johnson.